Think of the people you interact with every day. Would you want to spend a day in a canoe with them? I'm Nathan Mercereau, and as a financial advisor with over 25 years of experience, I've learned that the quality of the people you spend time with is a lot more valuable than what can show up in a set of financial projections. And growing up in Canada, I discovered you can learn a lot about a person when you spend a day in a canoe with them. So I created this show where I interview people I find interesting and inspiring. I invite you to listen in and learn from their stories so you can create the life you want, one filled with wealth, wisdom, meaning, and purpose. Well, I'm delighted today to have Dan Russell, Vice President of National Corporate Sales at Trion Solutions, and really an international recognized public speaker, a motivator, an influencer. Dan has several years of experience in banking and finance and is involved in many charitable causes. Dan, it is a pleasure to have you and Day in a Canoe. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Welcome. Love for you to just start out. Your passion for connection is so clear. Where did that originate? How did that come to be?
Well, first off, Nathan, thank you for having me. As we were joking about a second ago, this is definitely not a day to be in a canoe. So thank you that we're at least in our warm locations and enjoying this time. But thank you. It's an honor to be on and very grateful to you for allowing me the opportunity. And the power of connection, I think it really started, years ago when I recognized how much you can impact another person in their life and in your own life. And I think the moment you realize the power in that connectivity and in relationships, now there comes the responsibility. So now, taking the time, being present in that moment and really making sure to connect people, it's just always been something that's fueled me since the beginning and just trying to do good for others. It's one of those things, making that one extra phone call, connecting those two people that maybe there might even not be a financial benefit to you, but you're just bringing two great people together. Things like that. That's what I think makes the world go round.
I love it. Now, take us back to the early stages of your career because you have such an interesting journey. How did it all begin, and what are some of the highlights that you've experienced?
Well, I'll tell you, I was raised by two parents that they were entrepreneurs, and they started a newspaper from two sheets of paper and took it on to becoming one of the most successful papers in Michigan. As I was growing up, I just got a chance to see two young adults from Detroit that moved to Belleville, Michigan, and on a whim started a newspaper, and that opportunity grew into something special. And so it was great to be raised by parents that they really were looking for excellence, and they also understood opportunity. And so, looking back, as my career developed, a lot of people opened the doors for me. There were a lot of people along my journey that they didn't have to take a chance on a young black kid full of energy that, seemed like he had a lot going for himself, but not a lot of experience. And I not only had people that gave me opportunities, but I also had people that gave me time and gave me knowledge and gave me advice. And to look back, those gems have just added up over the years. So as you get that and you keep gathering those gems as you grow older, you recognize again the responsibility to give those gems back to others. And my career, starting in banking, again, somebody gave me a great opportunity. I ended up being a vice president for Wells Fargo, Wachovia, and National City. And it was great because I was able to help them run mortgage divisions in the Midwest. And you were helping people achieve the American dream. And it really meant something. You were helping somebody who was buying the largest investment most of the time they would ever have in their entire life. And you were watching a young couple who found out they were having a kid and, maybe getting that first home. Those people who had achieved a level of what we would all call success in getting that chance at something they never thought was imaginable. Those things were really special. And then when the industry changed a little bit years ago, I felt like I couldn't help people as much anymore. And just because some of the challenges and barriers that were created, I just couldn't really help people the way I used to be able to. So then transitioning into the PEO world and payroll and HR, it's really neat because what I started off doing, I now get to do for business owners. And it's neat to say I have clients with one employee and I have clients with thousands of employees. And so it's really neat to see each of them at different stages and levels. And then as that grew and developed over the years, I got to really start to live out my dream, which is being a public speaker. And, it's always difficult because if you're with an organization that maybe they don't allow you to shine in what you want to do, that can be a challenge. But being a part of Tryon Solutions, the team, they're great. Everybody runs in their own lane, and I'm very proud and honored that they allow me the opportunity to speak around the world, and it's humbling. I say it often when I stop and I hear that I can tell people my largest keynote speech was 3 million people in 28 countries. It's humbling to think that someone values your knowledge, your opinion, your attitude, your outlook on life, and they see a lot of value in that. So I think with that, my career has developed, but it's developed because of people, and I don't overlook any individual conversation. I've spoken to people that have achieved, again, a large amount of income in their life, and I've learned from them. And I've also learned from people that just tell me, hey, Dan, I wasn't chasing that, but man, I was chasing a great marriage, or I was chasing a great relationship with my kids. And there's so much to gain from each person. And so, again, I thank God for the people that He's put in my path, because along the way, had certain people not opened doors for me, I would have never said I was a vice president of a bank, and then gone on in my career to own my own PEO, and then be able to merge that with a group like Tryon. And like I said, I'm living my dream, which is fantastic.
Nah, that's wonderful to hear. I want to go back to the early days when you were seeing your parents go into entrepreneurship, and I think about all the challenges that entrepreneurs have, and you see it every day with Tryon and the solutions that you're trying to provide to and provide support to. What are some things that you've observed about entrepreneurship on a principle basis that you say, just over looking past or the decades, this works, or watch out for this? Because we have a number of listeners that are thinking about just how to scale or how to grow to the next level. And it's always great to hear someone that has such a broad range of perspective as you do.
I love how you even asked the question, because when you said that, I just went, I can look at my parents, and I can look at my clients, and I can look at dear friends in my own career. And one thing remains the same: hard work never fails. We will fall. Every one of us will experience failure in our career. If you haven't pushed hard enough and you haven't jumped high enough. It's that failure that brings growth. But watching that it's not always going to be easy, it gets ingrained in your spirit a little bit. You get used to, okay, so I got knocked down, I got back up. We've been here before. It may be a bigger punch, it may be a bigger fall, it may be bigger risk, but it's still the same. And you can take the most talented person and they can get outworked every single day, and the person that outworks them will win. It doesn't happen all the time. It's never a guarantee, and that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? Any true entrepreneur isn't thinking about one business; they're thinking about the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. But also, one thing that I've found with all successful entrepreneurs is they've put a goal beyond themselves. Right? We reach a point in our careers where we say, thank God. In my case, I'm married with 6 kids, and thank God my family has the opportunity that they've been able to have, and their health and things like that. But when you look and you see, I have the opportunity to impact, I have the opportunity to help, and you recognize that we are so overwhelmingly blessed in our life that we have the things we need. We're challenged to get to the things we want, and then we get the things we want, and then we want other things, right? We have bigger challenges. It's what makes entrepreneurs tick. But along that climb to the top, it's recognizing that person over there can't get to the next level without me. Now you have responsibility. You have responsibility beyond your own goals, career paths, your individual family. You start to think about people beyond your circle, your bubble. And that's when it really starts to grow, because now when you fall down, there is no other option but getting up. Somebody else is depending on you. And I always remember and I think about the fact somebody's watching me every single day. It may be a little boy, it may be a little girl, it may be, somebody who sees me in a suit and tie one day and they just go, I don't know what that guy does, but I want to become that guy. Because that was me as a little boy. When people used to ask me, Dan, what did you want to be when you grew up? I watched TV or movies and I'd see that guy in the suit and he was walking somewhere with purpose and you didn't know who he was or what he did, but man, he looked important. And I looked up in my adult life and said, oh my goodness, that's what I've become. But somebody's watching you, somebody's listening. And it's so humbling, Nathan, when I think about the opportunities I've had to do public speaking and the emails or the phone calls that you get after, where someone tells you, I was getting ready to shut my business down, but I actually heard you and I decided I was just going to change some things around and I'm going to retool and I'm going to rebrand and I'm going to try again. And let me tell you where I'm at now. It's great to hear that. It's great to hear about that person that says, I was actually going to drop out of college, and you came into my class and you spoke. And I actually not only didn't drop out, I changed my major and I'm graduating this weekend. That stuff hits home. But I'll tell you, the ones that really hit home the most is when you hear someone say, I heard you speak and I was going to commit suicide and I heard you speak. That's the responsibility now. That's what you wake up with. That's what you say, wait, if there's that much power in the words that I've been given and I have a chance to share that with someone, I have to. Because that one person who is waiting to hear me say something, if I don't deliver that, I'm not fulfilling what I think I'm called to do.
No, thank you for sharing that. And just having gone through a close experience or personal experience around end of life and suicide, I believe that the unspoken disease of our culture is mental health, and I think it's so important to bring awareness to this and to have awareness of where people are. I mean, we don't know the power of just a simple hello, a gesture of kindness, a listening conversation where you're just hearing the person and then providing support. And I think that's the power of our community when we truly cultivate that. I want to go back to the process that you described about, you work through things and dealing with that adversity. Along the way, we learn lessons, and some of them are hard, some of them are easy, some of them are okay, I can see it. What are some lessons that you learned along the way that stand out that you can say, hey, I can see it now and I can pass that on as a helpful point to someone else?
Well, I think the hardest lesson, and this is just because of the way I'm built, the hardest lesson that I learned in life was it was two part. Number one, everyone doesn't think like me. And it took a minute to figure that out because I kept trying to push people to here. And I'm like, wait, if they're happy here, Dan, stop pushing them. This is where they're trying to get them to where their great is, right? My thing is be great. Well, okay, great at what? Not great by my standards or the world standards, but they're great. And, I think the second part of that was so hard was that everybody doesn't want to see you win. Um, that was really hard for me to grasp because I really kind of had the mantra of you can't beat me because I want you to win too. It's not a competition. It's not a race to the finish. I'm running, and if I challenge you to run faster, great. If you push ahead of me in your particular race, I'm happy for you. But recognizing that along the journey, some people will not be happy to see you reach that next tier, that next level. And unfortunately, some people, they want to maybe bring you down into their misery. They say misery loves company, but it's learning over the years that you have to take some of those people. And first, I always try to bring them up, as you were talking about. mental illness and just people being aware of their own mental health is so huge now. And I think so often people say, well, I'm supposed to be successful. I can't have mental illness, or I shouldn't. My goodness, mental illness will attack the wealthiest entrepreneur all the way down to that young teenager that everything looks great. They're a great athlete, they're a great student, they're good looking. Mom and dad are together, they live in a great house, and that kid is still battling depression. You look at that, and I just think, why compete with that person? Let's try to figure out how to get that person to their win. And I've always been a big believer that we can win together, and understanding that everybody doesn't share that sentiment, and being able to accept that and still push forward. That was one of my hardest challenges, because I'm a person that I want to influence the world. I want to change the world. I want to impact the world, but understanding everybody's not ready to run that race, and everybody has their own individual race to run, and let them run it. I think that was one of the hardest lessons for me.
That's great insight. Thank you for sharing. And I think as we evolve through our career, our life stages, that things can change. We can have different seasons, different chapters. There can be different people kind of that we're connected to more or less, depending on the time period. And I think it's important to have authenticity as the center, because when we focus all on the material things or the outward appearance and not really focus on the inside, that's where there's a huge disconnect. It's been great to connect today. I'd like to wrap up just by reflecting on what advice you would give a young Dan. So you're sitting down with a 20-year-old Dan, you're saying, "Hey, I got something to share." What would you pass on to a younger self?
You know, I would say this, it would be the same advice I'm giving myself every day. And I wake up with one premise every day, which is, thank God I've been given 24 more hours. I want to help as many people as I possibly can in that 24 hours. Whether that day it's my wife and one of my kids, or if that day it's someone that I've never met before, continue to take every opportunity to help, because in the end, you'll never regret helping people. And when you add up helping people, helping people, helping people, that equates to a huge impact on the world, and recognizing our purpose in that. And I'd tell my 20-year-old self, be fearless. Be fearless. Jump. Don't be so worried about what the world says you're supposed to be. Don't be so worried about these levels of success that the world thinks that you're achieving, because when you turn around and you really realize the impact and opportunity we have to influence others and change the world, you recognize that's true success. True success is leaving a legacy behind you of people that care about one another, people that are opening up doors for one another, people that are lifting others up so they can reach their goal and dream. That's what it's about. Dream bigger, and then when you think you're done, dream bigger.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for your insight, sharing your story, being vulnerable, giving insight that can be passed on to listeners. I know that people will really find our time and your conversation and input so valuable. Want to wish you all the best and look forward to staying in touch with you in the days ahead.
Thank you so much again. Thank you for the platform, and hey, keep doing it. I'm enjoying all the podcasts. I can't wait to get through all of them.
Sounds great.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for listening and tuning in to Day in a Canoe. We're thrilled to have you as part of our community. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with your friends and loved ones. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on social media platforms by searching Day in a Canoe. We'll see you next time.